fees ruining our lives. And on the inside pages, they talk about, I've seen where children are unable to go to school because of capitation, lack of capitation funds as well. So we'll be talking about that, and probably towards the tail end of this show, discuss a few issues around politics. This morning we are privileged to have my immediate left, Samuel Poghisio, who has served as a member of the National Assembly, as a member of the Senate, served as Senate Majority Leader in the 12th Parliament, and also as Minister ICT in the Kibaki II administration. Karibu sana, Bwana Poghisio.
Thank you very much.
Next to Bwana Poghisio, we have Senator Danson Mungatana of Tana River. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
And Makali Mulu, MP Kitui Central, also joins us this morning.
Yeah, thank you.
Gentlemen, let's start with the matters to do with the privacy. The story on the front page of the Standard, which I feel is the biggest talking point this morning, and they call it creepy intention. For the upteenth time, the Ruto administration is once again pushing to amend information laws through a private member's bill, and the private member is Honorable Mary Keitany, that would grant sweeping powers to monitor, trace, and target Kenyans online. If passed, the legislation will give the state unprecedented access to digital platforms, raising fears of a crackdown on dissent and increased surveillance of government critics. Especially in the wake of last year's Gen Z protests, experts now warn the timing points to a calculated attempt to mute online activism ahead of the 2027 general election. Now, the intention of this bill, according to the sponsor of the bill, is to protect Kenyans from exploitation by internet service providers. Yet, according to what we are seeing, this could be something totally different and probably be used by the state to monitor data or internet use by Kenyans. Listen to this. In her justification, Keitany says the bill seeks to develop and deploy quality metered billing capable of monitoring customer usage, convert data into readable details, and create invoices based on users' consumption. But an analysis by digital rights experts point to a chilling plan for mass data collection, real-time monitoring of citizens, and erosion of human rights by the state under the guise of regulating internet billing by internet service providers. Bwana Poghisio, you've served as Minister for ICT. Times have really changed. Internet usage, social media, a lot of data is actually available online, including personal data, banking details, and all these things. Do you agree that the state should have the leeway to convert all this private data and have it in their control?
Thank you, Fred. You're right. I mean, I have occupied that space, and I know with the growth of technology, you'll soon realize that there's nothing like private anymore, as long as you've entered a public space. That space is already what you would call murky waters, if you want to, because you don't control it. I mean, even now, by the way, those of us in this on this panel, if you ask any of them, somehow their data is not safe anymore, even those of us who are here. Because if you become a person of interest in any government, your data is no longer safe. They have a way of finding, of tracking you, of monitoring you, even of literally making sure that you cannot really have your own privacy. You've heard about tapping of phones and so on, so that they can monitor whom you're talking to and things like that. And with technology now, you really don't have to even pass a law. You don't even have to pass a law. And I think it's actually very redundant of the MP to try and move it as a bill, because the technology that we have today, you can even have technology to prevent that from happening, you see. So somebody wants to make sure that you're tracked, and technology is changing so fast that you don't have to do a bill like that. I just want to recommend that to our politicians, especially members of parliament, that before you move a bill like this one, can you please check with the international community. Check with what happens in other countries. Is there anybody in the US, for example, who has moved a bill like this? Is there somebody, in developed countries who moves a bill like this? Are we becoming so redundant that we have to move a bill, make sure it is part of our law, something that should be driven by how technology moves? We don't have to make it part of our legal system. Secondly, if you move a law like this, if you pass a law like this one, is our legal system, our judiciary, up to speed to deal with this kind of law as well? Do we have the mechanism to actually make it illegal? Or even to arrest somebody on the basis of that? So we do have a situation in our hands where we legalize so much. We make so many laws in this country. Every year we're adding to our laws something that's not necessary. And make our law book so big for nothing, when actually, when actually precedent should be more of what we use than even trying to create more laws. So I know that the lawyer in the House here will probably guide us on that matter. But I just want to say to government, there are 54 million Kenyans, okay? Some of them have 3, 4 numbers, mobile numbers. Stalking these Kenyans is not easy, by the way. It's not going to be easy for you. So they're just going to target people, a very few people, but you cannot stalk 54 million people. Now, there is something called the Data Commissioner in this country, whose job is actually to protect us. Okay, protect our data and make it so that nobody interferes with our data. It doesn't matter who it is, even government. So we do have a situation in our hands where we need to make government realize that the best way to run this country is to allow more freedoms, to allow people to express themselves, and protect those rights which are in our Constitution. Anything you do now like this one, and Mary Keitany, is she called Mary?
Yes.
Mary Keitany should not allow herself to be used by anybody to bring a law that is going to be criticized, challenged in court. People will rush to court. I mean, this is not going to be easy. Yeah, why would you want to be the one to bring a law like that, which, is going to look like you're still stalking people, you're going to victimize people, you're going to get people more in trouble instead of more in freedom. So yeah, I do want to say that it's not the kind of thing that you would like to participate in,
All right.
Especially if you're going to ask to vote to pass a law like that. If even the people who are going to vote are going to question, am I safe myself? Is my data safe?
All right.
Are we saying that those in parliament are angels, that they will not also be tracked, they will not be stalked? So yeah, I believe that I would advise the government not to be associated with this kind of law, because it would look like government is stalking people, looking for people to arrest, looking for mistakes and things like that. So I would really advise that we refrain from this kind of thing.
Okay. Of course, the sponsor of the bill, Senator, says that the intention is different, that the intention is to come up with a billing system that will, in essence, protect the consumer from exploitation by internet service providers. But you see there are other effects of other proposals within the same bill that probably, that is what many people are questioning. Do you see any of this, if you've had a quick run through of the story, do you see any of this violating the rights of Kenyans? Probably issues of privacy, data privacy?
First of all, it's very unfair to characterize or associate this bill with President William Ruto. It's not a government bill. Government bills are the ones that should be directly characterized and associated with the government. Government bills are the ones that should be associated with the president. Government bills are brought through a very clear process. It is a cabinet paper which is proposed from the relevant ministry. In this case, it would be the Ministry of ICT. Waziri Kabogo would go with a a proposal, and they would discuss the need for that bill, if at all. First of all, they pass a policy. Then that policy, once it's approved, then a bill is prepared. That bill, a government bill, must go through the Attorney General. It must pass the test of constitutionality through the Attorney General's office. And then it is brought back to the minister, who then publishes it, you know. It goes through first reading, second reading, and it follows the processes. But it is brought to the floor of the House by the majority leader of the House, who is the equivalent of the leader of government business. In the old constitution, it used to be the vice president and the leader of government business. But in this new constitution, where the vice president or the deputy president is not part of the parliament, the majority leader is the leader of government business. So government business has a very clear channel which is brought to the floor of the House. And it is longer in terms of processing. Before it comes to the House, there's a lot of processes behind. But private members' bills, they take shorter time in terms of processing. You will probably, like the times I've brought private members' bills to the floor of the House, you consult outside, you discuss outside, and if you remember, the public participation, not participation, but the Public Officers Vetting Act, the one that we use now, was the product of my handiwork when I was a member of parliament for Garsen. So what did I do? As a private member's bill, it wasn't a government bill. I took it through a lot of experts who looked at it and they said they support it, some amended it, some did what, some added value. Then we had a product. And again, you take it through our own system, our own lawyers within Parliament, who then advise and whatever, and then you own the work once you are happy with what the product is. So, but it is different from a government bill, because a government bill, when it comes to the floor of the House, it has priority, it has 3 stars, so it moves faster. It's not like a private member's bill. A private member's bill, you'd have to wait until all government business is done or committee business is done. There are also committee bills. Committee bills are brought by departmental committees of the House, and they take precedent over the private members' bills. So first you have government bills, then you have committee bills, then you have an ordinary member's bill. So it is true that if a government wants to have this kind of law, they can push it, and they don't bring it as a private member's bill. They would
Is it impossible to use a private member to sponsor?
It doesn't make any sense at all, because why would they want to hide it? At the end of it, if it is their bill, they would push it, you see, and they would want it to move fast. So it would have to be prioritized. If it's a government bill, it would have to be prioritized. Why would you put it as a 1-star instead of a 3-star? Why would you want it to hang around on the pipeline instead of it moving and you finish with it? So this is not a government bill. I want members to understand that what the standard has put there is misinformation. It is wrong. And we have to be honest when we are before the public and tell them the truth, that a private member does not lose your right to bring in bills just because you are a UDA member or you are in the Kenya Kwanza coalition.
Okay.
So what Mary Kaitani has done, and probably she's the best person to explain that bill, is to bring her own thinking. And this is the most important job of a member of parliament. And I really congratulate her, because when you see a member of parliament bringing a bill, it's not many people who bring bills. Or when you see a senator bringing a bill, those are people who have applied their minds. Most people just go there to vote or to just talk on issues. So from where I sit, she's probably the best person to explain this bill. And she has explained it from the coverage of the papers. She's just saying that it is a consumer protection bill from her perspective. And how is it a consumer protection bill? She's saying that maybe from her own experience or from the experience of her constituents or other Kenyans who have talked to her, that when you're trying to use the internet, having purchased some bundles, before you know what is happening, your bundles are over. You could be maybe watching a movie, maybe doing your research, before you know, and many Kenyans have complained about this, that you purchase, 500 MBs, and then just before you get started, you're told you don't have internet again. And it's a general complaint, including even last night when someone was telling me, actually my driver, that he had purchased minutes for, now for this one is the phone, minutes from one of the providers. And according to him, the 1 month plan, the way he has used the phone, it doesn't make sense that it is 2 weeks into the month from the time he bought and it's over, and he can't explain it to himself. So and then everyone says, no, hao ni waizi. And it ends there, because maybe it is 100 shillings, it is 200 shillings, it's 500, so it ends there. But that's where the providers of internet have been taking advantage of. Many Kenyans, I am sure many of us, including myself, have experienced the fact that, oh, I purchased this bundle, surely it should not have been over by now. So if he's talking about consumer protection, and then someone puts a headline,
but this one has gone beyond the billing issue.
Wait,
beyond
he puts a headline, he puts the president, and tries to associate that bill with the president, which is misinformation, as I have informed, and then at the same time starts bringing experts who are saying, no, the intention of the bill is different. And yet, every time you bring a bill in the House, the intention must be stated in that bill.
Because all this is contained in the bill.
Let me
beyond the billing.
Let me say this, Fred. The reason the bill goes through the first reading, and then first reading, it's committed to a committee. In this case, it will be committed to the committee dealing with ICT, and then it will go through scrutiny. Members of the public will come, and stakeholders will come to give their views. Okay, and then after that, it will go before the House. And because it is a bill from the lower house, from the National Assembly, they will debate it. So if there are issues, people will raise it. At first, the committee will also flag anything that is bad. And then by the time they have passed it, it still has to come to the Senate, okay? When it comes to the Senate, again, we will look at it. And it will have to pass through all the processes: first reading, committee, second reading, debate. And by the time it comes out, it will be a bill that is worthy the House of Parliament.
Right, but Mokali Mulu, we know that the state has, from time to time, even suggested that we had the ICT minister, cabinet secretary now even suggesting that we need to control social media use at some point, meaning that these are discussions around government circles, that there may be need to control, to monitor the use of internet and such like things. And the biggest beneficiary of this bill would be the state, because they'll be able to do exactly that. Do you agree that, yes, a private member can be used by the state to bring a bill on a different intention, but under the guise of a different intention, consumer protection for that matter, but the main intention is something else, to allow the state to monitor internet use?
Yeah, thank you so much, Fred. Fred, I think Senator Mugatana has explained the process very well, the way things are normally done in the House. In terms of government bills, private members' bills, committee bills, there are also at times what we call the party bills. And in terms of ranking, there are different levels. You realize that private members' bills normally are only debated on Wednesday morning.
Yes.
So the rest of the time is government bills. And that tells you that if you really want to have a bill pushed faster, then you don't use the private members route because that will take longer. You only have, in a week, you only have a morning session. But all said and done, you realize that, Fred, the reason why somebody would come with a bill is that there must be a problem being addressed. Otherwise, unless there is any problem, then you don't have to come up with it because you're supposed to be enacting laws for posterity. And the question I would be asking myself is, what is it that we have as a problem in Kenya so that this bill becomes important? Looking at the Data Protection Act, you realize that a lot of data, individual data, has actually been protected. That for you to access that data, you have to do a number of things for you to be able to either share that data or even access it. And what has happened is that because of the social media and the way now social media has become the main communicating channel in this country, to an extent that is overtaking what we usually would call the norm. What has happened now, I'm sure the government would want really to be on top of in terms of what is happening, and more so informed by what happened last year, the Gen Z issue. You remember the issue of the strike and the protests. We have a communication channel which has come up where the government doesn't have a lot of say in what is happening. And the government might be testing the waters. While Mukatari is saying the president has nothing to do this, we know the government uses individuals also to test the waters. Because I would not be convinced why a private member would want to get to this space. Data issues are very little to do with an individual member. What would be the concern of Mary Ketan, Honorable Mary Ketan, when Kenyans are sharing information and they are communicating without the government knowing what they are communicating? So I think it could be a situation where they are testing their waters, so that in case they see there isn't much resistance, don't be surprised, Fred. We have seen private members' bills being taken over by government and becoming government bills. And once it becomes a government bill, it can be fast-tracked so that within 2 weeks, it becomes law. So could be, this is somewhat being used so that you test the waters. And once you test the waters and we realize that there isn't much resistance, then you realize the government saying through the committee will say, this bill has become so important to us, we are taking it over, and then Mayor Keitani will be approached and be told, please drop your bill, let's now move with the bill. So it becomes a government bill. But I think what we should be saying as Kenyans is that I think we've come far in terms of opening the space for Kenyans to say what they want to say. And I don't think anybody who would want to take us back to where we have come from should be taken as a friend of this country. We must take them as enemies of this country.
Do you feel that this bill will take us back?
It is taking us back.
Yes.
Why would somebody want to know, stock on our information? Why would you be concerned about what we are saying? So long as it has nothing to do with security, because the only time I think we need to guard information is when it becomes a threat to national security. I don't think Kenyans communicate on a day-to-day basis. I think to do with national security. And that's why we're saying this bill, the good thing is it will be taken through public participation. And what I would want to encourage Kenyans is once it goes to the committee, because now it has to be, after first reading, it will be pushed to a committee. And the committee will have now to conduct public participation now before they call the honorable member. So what I would encourage Kenyans is at the public participation stage, we need to come out strongly and say no to this bill. Because it will be against the Data Protection Act. It will even be unconstitutional, looking at what we have been given by the Constitution in terms of our rights, that we should have a right to say what we want, right of association. And to me, this is really we should be saying. And it's unfortunate that Mary Keitani is now, this is our first attempt to do a private member's bill. And she's coming with such kind of a bill. I think the last time we heard of Mary Keitani, we just remind Kenyans is when, you remember our case with the former CS Agriculture, where they had an issue of fighting for our property. That's the time we heard of her. That time she wasn't a member of parliament. But really, it's good that as a member of parliament, whatever you decide to do should be something for public interest and for posterity.
All right.
Thank you.
This is at least one of the main stories on most of the front pages. It is there on the front page of the Daily Nation.
Yeah.
It's there on the front page of the People Daily, and as well as the Standard, which calls it a plot to stalk Kenyans. Creepy intention, they call it. I want us to focus on something else that is also hitting most of the dailies. I can see it on the front page of the Daily Nation and on the front page of the Standard as well. Matters to do with education. Funding for education, and that's a big question we are asking today. On the front page of the Daily Nation, they talk about universities. High varsity fees ruining our lives. Students being punished